Reggaeville family, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Take Me Places. The sound system culture is a crucial part of Jamaican music and Jamaican music history, because what if the music was created and was never played out there, right? A man who has spent almost a lifetime, or at least 54 years, right, of his lifetime for his sound and the sound of his sound system, a pioneer in dubplate, pioneer in clashing, a man dedicated to Jamaican music, compassionate and committed to Jamaican music. With me is Noel Harper, better known as Papa Jaro, the father of Kilimanjaro sound system. How is everything, sir?
I'm fine, thank you very much, Munchy.
This is a very special place to you. Tell me, where are we and why did you take me to this place?
All right, this is One Whitehall Avenue, known to many as the Dub Store. This is my recording studio. It was built specifically to music dub plate for the sound system. But later on, we started to do work for other sound systems as well.
And you've been in this very place for more than 20 years, right?
No, I've been at this place for more than 30 years.
Little miscalculation there.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Still,
Time
this...
flies so much I can't believe it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
At the same time, this is still an historic interview because this might be the last interview in this very space,
Yes,
right?
this might be the last interview at this location because we're in the process of, you call it now, transiting to a new location. Can't disclose that as yet.
But don't worry yourself, it's just another point in the history, right? So it's all good, just movements. But let us go back to the very beginning. In the summer of 1969, that is the birth date of Kilimanjaro.
Right.
Because you saw your brother, and I think you saw some friends, they had sound system, and you wanted to do that as well. What fascinated you about music that you wanted to have your own sound system, and how did music enter your life?
Well, as you just mentioned, I had friends with sound system, and my own brother had a sound system. And I fell in love with the sound system and wanted something like that for myself. But that was during school days. So I had to wait until I was free to do my own thing. So as soon as I graduated from high school, I decided that I'm going to start to build my sound system. Started off modestly, quite small, but it grew quickly. And in a short space of time, I was in the dance hall.
So do you recall what the first pieces of equipment were that you bought?
Yes, the very first amplifier I bought was a Sony integrated TA1140 amplifier.
Okay, wow.
I have pictures of it.
Wow, okay.
And the next piece of amplifier I bought was a Sansui BA3000 power amplifier.
Okay. So you started from there, and the sound system grew pretty fast, I would say. The popularity and stuff. What do you think was the thing that people gravitated to about Kilimanjaro?
Well, one thing I started out doing from day one, I wanted to have something that sounded very good. And I made every effort I could to buy good quality equipment and put good speaker system together and tune it as best as I could. And friends and fans started to tell me how much they liked the sound. And then from way back, I was somebody who liked Studio One music and also Channel One music. And I used to play a lot of those. And somehow At that time, people was gravitating toward that kind of music. So little by little, we started to develop a fan base. And I was surprised myself to see how fast things was going. And it kept growing until I reached a point where I had to get help, because in the early days, I was the one doing everything and also playing the sound system. At that stage, a friend of mine introduced me to Ainsley Gray. Ainsley was playing a little sound system in Scotland and also working in a record shop, Aquarius, at the time in Halfway Tree. So when he came to me and talked to me about playing the sound, I accepted him because I needed the help. And the minute I was able to accept the help, things started to move even faster because I could accept more events.
Wow.
Because at the time I had a regular 9-to-5 job.
Yes. Okay. Can you explain to me how dances or sound system parties would look like them time back then, and how did that look like? Because you had a selector, right? Or you played the sounds, but you had DJs coming in and DJing on the sound as well, right?
Yeah, well, in those days, sound system was quite different from it is now, because every sound system back in the days used to have singers that work with the sound and DJs that actually toast. The selector never usually say anything in the microphone. All the selector would do is find the tunes and play the tunes. And the DJs, first of all, you would play like a vocal song. And then you flip it and play the flip side, which would be the rhythm version. And at that time, the singer would grab the microphone and sing something on it. And then the DJ would take it and start DJing. And, you know, it was like a mini stage show, and people usually come out to watch this because it was very interesting in those days. And the funny thing is that dancehall scene now is quite different from then. Because in those days, you would find a man and a woman dancing together. No, everybody they separate and dancing separately.
Right. That's a whole different story as well. Tell me a bit, would you say that, especially back in those days where not everyone had a TV, was sound system also something that was important socially for society, something where somewhat of a means for people, to express their opinion, for the artists to deal with day-to-day problems they had in a different way?
Well, I'm glad you bring up that because, as you say, back in those days, television was something quite scarce. Only a few people had television. So going to a dance hall was perhaps one of the nicer places to go and have some fun on a weekend. So the dance hall, in those days, it actually played a very valuable role in entertaining people. And people go to the dance hall not just for music, but to socialize and meet with each other. Because you didn't have no whole lot of movie theater or nothing. So this was a very good way of meeting and entertaining yourself.
So you mentioned the singers and DJs that DJ on a sound. Some people that DJ for Jaro were Early B and a man named Supercat, right?
But before that, I can't forget one of my pioneer DJ. Very few people might know the name, but his name is Old Hard.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of his lines when he would DJ, so that name stuck on him. But Early B and Supercat was two of the main DJs, but we can't forget Burro Banton.
Right, exactly.
And then, of course, there's another DJ, Jim Kelly, and can't forget Lone Ranger.
Right.
And there's a whole lot more. You have Dirty Harry, And then later on, you have like German. And of course, there was Super Cat brother, Junior Cat.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, you know, the list goes on.
So would these DJs be loyal to one specific sound system, or they would go on one day to the dance of one sound and DJ on that, and then the next day go to the next sound system?
Well, loyalty is a thing, you know, that I don't know if I should say it breaks down or it's adjusted as soon as, the more famous the DJ get. Mm-hmm. And then it's like the loyalty start to win. Mm-hmm. Get smaller and smaller. But I can understand that, because when a DJ is young and not well known, they'll use the sound system to get themselves broadcast and until they reach a certain level now, and you know, they start to get a lot of good offers and tours, guest DJ work, stage shows, and you know, it's attractive, so you can't blame them for doing that.
And our next problem would be that you would be booked for a dance, you would want to bring the DJs, but the DJs might have a next booking, right? Maybe even a foreign, right? Yeah. But eventually that led to something very special, right? Because tell me about that time when you had a dance and you wanted to come with Rankin Trevor and you Brown. And what did you do? You got very creative, right?
Well, Rankin Trevor and you Brown was in the very early days when I was playing the sound myself. Mm-hmm. I can remember we had a dance, and Rankin Trevor and you Brown, they had another sound system that they usually operate. And as I would say, they had more ties to that sound system than my sound system. Mm-hmm. And it would be detrimental if they didn't turn up when their boss called them. Mm-hmm. And because I realized we made all the plans for them, and they told me they're not going to be able to make it, I decided that I was going to carry them to the studio and record them and actually cut the dub plates with them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I took those dub plates to the dance tonight. And when I started to play those dub plates, everybody was tearing down the gate. The promoter had problem to manage the crowd. And when they came around the sound system to see you Brown and Rankin Trevor, and they didn't see you Brown and Rankin Trevor, but they saw a dub plate, the excitement get even more. Okay. Because in those days, you wouldn't find DJs doing dub plates because they used to do it live. Mm-hmm. And everybody wanted to see the dub plate, so more people kept piling in.
Tell me a bit about the history of those dub plate specials for Jamaican sound systems in general, because you said singers were already doing dub plate specials right. Even before, right? Yeah. So there has been always some sort of artist doing exclusive things for a certain sound system. How was that like?
Well, okay. You basically have two types of dub plate. You have the dub plate where a producer would make a new song, and then you would go to the studio with the producer. He might have that song on a 24 track, and they make an exclusive mix for you, so you can play it. No, that mix that he made for you is not recorded and saved by the producer. Mm-hmm. So if he's gonna do another mix, it no matter how much they try, they can't get it perfectly alike like the one you have. Mm-hmm. So yours becomes something special. Mm-hmm. So back in the days, we used to play dub plate specials that it didn't have anybody singing or glorifying or bigging up your sound system. But it would be exclusive because nobody else wouldn't have that particular mix. Mm-hmm. Right. And then, of course, you have the other one now where you would carry the singer to the studio and make the singer sing something special for the sound. And in those days, they wouldn't really be calling out selector's name or even the sound system names too much, just a little. And then it was mostly like singers, because back in the days people wasn't really cutting DJs and dub plate. But there was something else that was happening at the time. Most of the foreign sound systems, when they have a big dance in, like, say, in the UK, they would come down and book a Jamaican DJ and take the Jamaican DJs overseas to work as a guest on the dance. And after a while, they find that was very expensive.
Yes.
So they would come to Jamaica and voice the artists and dub plate, take them back and play them. So when some of the Jamaican sound systems started to travel and they go over there and see that happening and they liked it, they figured that, that is something they could do. Because those are sound systems that we used to describe in those days as juggling sound systems. Those sound systems didn't have a full-time singer or a DJ working with them.
Okay.
I'm not going to call names, but you can figure them out. Because a lot of them still around.
Okay.
And because plenty of these sound systems, they didn't want to be bothered with employing a full-time DJ or a full-time singer because it costs money.
Of course, yes.
And they didn't bother that much with dub plate either because they usually play mostly vinyl. But whenever you have a clash and you want to play something really special or exclusive, then it has to be a dub plate. It can't be the same record that everybody buy at the record shop.
Yes, of course.
So they realize how important dub plates were. So little by little, everybody started to, have dub plate. But then, of course, you have some corrupted people who refuse to pay the artists what the artists want, and they might find some little imitator who pretend to be DJing like a certain DJ. And sometimes with technology, they learn how to splice songs and they cut out other sound name and put their sound name. So technology helped the scammers them a whole lot.
Which is right. So we stick to the real sound system, like Kilimanjaro, because also little by little your sound has developed into a clash sound, even though I think that was not your original intention, right?
No. I never had any intention or plan to brand Kilimanjaro as a clash sound. Clashing, it came about because some people might think it's a show off, but I'll tell you the truth, Kilimanjaro was doing very well and we had very good support. And some younger sound system got jealous, wanted our position and figured that, boy, if we kick with Kilimanjaro foot or beat them in a clash, then we will get all the fame they have. So they come with the challenges and we had to defend it. It's like self-defense. And we did it in a serious way. And we defended the sound system. And I can say we defeated a whole lot of them. And people started to brand us clash sound. But that wasn't the intention. The intention was just to entertain people and make people have fun.
So if it was for you, you would have just played dance and played music?
Well, I still support playing every kind of music because every kind of people come to dance and you need to entertain people. And I like dancehall music. I like the original reggae music. I like everything about Jamaican music. I mean, some, not so much, but I still have love for them.
You have several people that played on Jaro sound that have been that have played very, very important clashes. Germany did that with Silverhawk. You had Trooper clashing against Addies. You had Freddy Krueger against Mighty Crown. A whole lot of very important clashes. The greatest clash of all times is Jaro versus Addies. What do you think is important when clashing for the sound system and also for the people operating the sound system?
Well, we were involved in clashes even before Germany time, and as you know, Germany is before Trooper, because Ainsley was there, and Ainsley put off quite a bit of clashes in Kingston, especially in Scotland. Mm-hmm. That's where we started to make a serious name. Mm-hmm. But one of the most important things, I believe, is that a selector have to study the venue and the crowd, the people in the dance, and play for the people. You can't go inside there and just play for yourself, because you're not going to get their support. Mm-hmm. So if you can play to keep the people in the dance happy, play for them. Then you stand a much better chance of coming out on top. Mm-hmm.
Tell me a bit about those days in Scotland. When was that, and how was the vibe like down there?
Well, Scotland, some of the best days in Scotland was like in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. And Scotland was a place where it's a central location, halfway tree in Kingston. And this is where you find a lot of young people congregate, because we used to have a skating ring, mm-hmm. and music is playing there all the while. Mm-hmm. And the promoter the person who operated the place, he was a person who loved music, mm-hmm. and he kept a whole lot of events. And when we started to work for him, his name is Jingles, God rest his soul. He fell in love with the sound system. Mm-hmm. And we had a good thing going. We really played a whole lot of so regular juggling dance and clashes. And I believe that some people even got jealous at one stage because they wanted to know why we play in there so regular. Scotland was like our yard. Mm-hmm. And people would just come Scotland to hear Kilimanjaro even before they know if a dance is promoted, because they expect to find us there. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's one of the greatest venues that in Kingston, mm-hmm. for dances, clashes, anything you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. And from you starting to cut dub plates, in the beginning you cut those dub plates at other people's studio, right?
Yeah.
Channel 1, I think.
Yeah.
Jammies.
One of the earlier places I started to cut dub plate was Tubby's and Channel 1, Joe Gibbs, and later on Jammies. Mm-hmm. And then I decided that I'd like to cut my own dub plate. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I bought my machine and set it up at my house. And that's where I used to cut my dub plate. And by the time Ricky Trooper joined the sound system, he was the one who kind of encouraged me to, build a little studio outside other than my home. Because at that time, when I set up the studio first, I didn't have any kids. Mm-hmm. But by that time, I started having kids, and this is my house. Yes, and the environmental wouldn't be good for artists coming there, and some of these people like to smoke, and I don't want that around the kids. Mm-hmm. So we decided to get a place. So we did get a nice place on Redditch Road, and that's where we used to operate for a while. Mm-hmm. And then we eventually moved from there to this location where I am now. Mm-hmm. But it was much better for me to have my own studio because we didn't have any time limit. We could work through the night if we had to. And, you know, when it's yours, you can do whatever you want when you want.
And some people, some artists actually spend the entire day there, right?
Yeah.
Who would be there on a regular?
There was a time, you know, when the studio was extremely busy and it used to attract a whole lot of artists. I wouldn't want to start naming any names because some people, if I miss the name, they might believe it's a disrespect. Yes. But most of the major artists used to be here in those days. But we had to scale down because the place was attracting a lot of crowd, and we even get some visits from the police and, you know, some warnings too. So we had to work within a certain framework.
Okay, I see.
So we scaled down things a bit.
But I think someone that was very close to Jaro, popularly known, also the relationship, and someone you would also call a friend, was Garnet Silk, right?
Yeah, well, Garnet Silk was one of the early artists that used to spend a whole lot of time here.
So can you say approximately how much Garnet Silk Jaro could play?
Yo, boy, you're putting me on the spot. I can recall several, but I can't count them. So I have to promise to give you that number at a later date.
But I remember that at some point you told me that you even had stuff on tape still that was never even mixed as yet. Have you mixed them as yet?
Well, right now we have some tapes, some 2-track tapes that I'm planning to go through because some of these tapes were actually stored away. And since we're planning to leave this location, start clearing out some stuff, and I'm coming across some stuff that I haven't seen for years. Yeah. Hopefully they're still good.
But that means technically that you could play a clash like next year and play some Garnet Silk that people have never heard before, right?
Well, we may be able to play some, not just Garnet Silk, but some other artists too that some people have never heard before.
And I know you worked at a bank, right? And
yes.
You're very, I'd say, meticulous person. So can you say how much dubplate you have overall? Do you have any approximate idea?
I am sorry to disappoint you. I can't tell you that. Not because I don't want to, I don't know. There's a lot of things, you see, that I don't, you might call me meticulous, but there's a lot of things I don't keep track of. Okay. It's like things that I love and I have to buy it. I don't worry about the price. Once I can afford it, I buy it. And I wouldn't be able to tell you how much I paid for it or how much money I've spent on something.
But speaking of that, you started 1969, so in the 70s, and also then later when you started the studio, was it hard out here to get the proper equipment, especially up to your quality expectations?
Well, in the early years, most of my equipments, I got them overseas because it wasn't easy to get some of these equipment in the local stores.
And where did you get your first dub machine?
Actually in New York.
Do you still have it today? And do you still use it today?
I still have that machine, and I'm sorry that it's not here for you to have a look on. But if anybody find any old video and look and see the dub machine, it's the same one. And it still works because I maintain it. Okay,
I was just about to ask, are you a person that really, as you said, maintain, if you're in the dance and you hear, oh, this speaker is not working properly, would you sit down the next day and start working on it?
Once I find a problem, I'm not going to rest until that problem is solved. We have one big problem now, but recently I found out that that problem is going away. A few years ago, the people from the US that used to supply us with blank dub plates, they had a fire and the whole factory was burnt down. So only people who had dub plate in storage could supply until their stock run out. And then, of course, dub plate is something with a lifespan. And if you store it away for a long time and it's not stored in the proper condition, it's gonna be spoiled by the time you're ready to use it. But recently I found somebody right here in Jamaica who is now making blank dub plate. So I think that is good news, because we have a lot of people who still like to use the dub plate. And I personally like the sound from the dub plate. It's a warmer sound than you would get from a CD. Yeah. And plenty people playing sound system know they don't have a clue of the sound that I'm talking about, because all they're accustomed to doing is playing MP3 and a laptop. And you know what MP3 do to music files. It compresses it. And MP3 is not a professional format. It was made just for like consumer listening. And if you're running a sound system, this is something professional. So you shouldn't be playing MP3. You should be playing wave file. But then again, you have some people who they may listen to the wave file and listen to the MP3, and they might tell you that they hear no difference. I'm kind of sorry for those people, because I don't know. Music is all about listening, and you can't discern the difference.
So how does it sound? How big is the sound at this point? How many speakers do you have? How much amplifiers? And what format of music do you normally play now these days?
Well, most of the music we play is in wave form. But unfortunately, sometimes you're unable to get the original waveform, so you may have to play MP3. No, MP3, is not anywhere near as good as wave. But if you use the highest quality MP3, you should be able to get away with it. And then, of course, when it comes on to equipment, I mostly use Crown amplifiers, although recently I started to use some of the Chinese amplifier, the CVR, and I was surprised to see how well they perform, because they're quite cheap compared with the traditional amplifiers. And we actually use US brand speakers, the JBL. We use the JBL Vertec VT4889 line arrays for play the top, and we use, I'm not going to tell you the brand, but a European speaker to play the subs.
Why do you think that in Jamaica sound systems are still so omnipresent, are still operated, whereas in other countries people go to the club? The sound system culture is not a thing in most other countries. What is so special about sound systems in Jamaica?
Well, sound system from the days where they originate sound system, it wasn't about playing in a club or in a building, It was playing in open air. And we're accustomed to, I personally rather to listen to music in an open space rather than in a building. Now, a lot of these countries, especially countries that have winter, if they were only listening to music in open air, then they would have a problem when the cold season comes. So they have the club that is suitable for this, and that is their lifestyle, and that's what they are used to. But playing in an enclosed building, especially a club setting, is usually much smaller than our big open space that we play. So you're definitely gonna need much bigger and powerful equipment to play in the open air. It's like, even in Europe and the USA and the UK, you'd find that mostly in summertime they would have big events, sometime in parks or, large areas where they can have stage shows, and they use enormous systems there. So even the people who are accustomed to going to clubs, they have a good idea what it's like to go to a big open air event. But as I mentioned earlier, because of the weather, they can't do that. We have summer 12 months a year in Jamaica.
True. Right.
So that's our thing.
So, as I said, sound system culture is a crucial part of Jamaican music and Jamaican music history. And with that came the clashes. And we mentioned several clashes that were very significant for Jaro. Do you have specific clashes in mind where you would say, okay, this was a historic point in time for us as a sound system, whether that be against Rodigan or the rivalry against Addies? And why do you think that, especially this one against Addies, that is named as the greatest clash of all time, why do you think that is so? What was significant about that?
Well, all right. I don't know if I can pick one particular one, but since you're talking about that one, then I'll respond. There was a big build-up around that dance with Kilimanjaro and Addies. And the reason for that is that Addies is a very popular sound in New York, and Addies was doing very well there. So, if you play in Jamaican music, you really have to come in Jamaica water and wet your foot to prove yourself. So Addies came down here and they prepared themselves. And I won't call names, but Addies played in several clashes down here with a lot of the major sound system and beat them. So there was a talk that Addies is king because them kill every sound in Jamaica.
Okay.
And a few people would say, well, if you want to be king, there's one more sound you have to kill.
Right, which is Jaro.
And them just laugh and say, Kilimanjaro is a whole sound, I know nothing that. And they arranged the clash. And it turned out that it was more like something, it's like they wanted to prove something. At that time, Ricky Trooper was playing the sound system. Ricky Trooper was also the person in charge of the studio. And he took it quite serious, and he did a whole lot of work. As a matter of fact, while he was preparing for the clash, he had a few disappointments because he made arrangements with certain artists to voice dub, and the artist started, pulling his legs and not answering Ricky Trooper call, and then time running out and Trooper realized that this man seemed like he's not gonna voice the tunes. So Trooper had to come up with a different strategy. And the strategy worked. The rest of it is history.
But tell me a bit more about how these preparations would normally go about. So Trooper or whoever it is, Jeremy or Freddy Krueger, they would sit down and would say, study the next sound and say, okay, them can play this and that, so I can counteract it with this or that tune, and then approach specifically those artists to get dubs. Or how do you go about that?
All right. It seems like you have a pretty good understanding of the whole thing. Because if you're going to clash with a sound system and you plan to beat that sound. Then you're going to have to study the person, know something about the person, know his weak point, know his strong points, and he may have some songs that you consider serious songs, and it's pointless to get the same song. So you try to find a way to counteract it, because if the person played the song before you, you're going to have to play something that can discredit that song or knock it out. So Chupa spent his time preparing for the clash. He did all that he was supposed to do. Did his background work, find the artist that he needed, and actually you don't just leave up everything to the artist, you know, because you have to get pen and paper and work out the lyrics and guide the artist how you want to present the song, what to say, prepare your punchline, and he did a good job.
How did he do it actually technically? Because today, okay, I can go on the internet, I Google XYZ sound, and then I might find an audio and can check that. But back in those days, that wasn't possible, right? So he would have cassette tapes
it was
from
much
Clash.
more difficult back in the days. You wouldn't be able to know everything that you need to know. But you listen cassette tapes, and as long as you know enough and you know to handle yourself, and sometimes a little bluffing too.
But would he or the others be frustrated when things didn't work out as they had planned it? Or what if he played a song and then all of a sudden the next sound had the counteraction for that? Or so?
Well,
Or is it really something to, okay, all right, it's a competition, but once that's over, that's it?
in this business, you know, every sound system know what they are up against, and they know the game. And you have to know how to conduct yourself and what to do. As you say, you know, that dance turned out, well, as some would say, the greatest clash ever in sound system business. And after so many years, there's a lot of people still hurting, you know, because from time to time, there's a forum they call Sound Clash Fraternity. And people quarreling about it same way. And everybody know the result of the dance. And some people refuse to accept what happened.
You mentioned at some point in this conversation, you mentioned spliced up plate.
Yeah.
And you know how in some way or another, some people might be able to cheat and might still win the dance or the clash. That is a thing that frustrated you or people at Jaro when you lost over a fake thing?
It's frustrating, you know, but what you gonna do about it? That not going reverse nothing. I know personally of a clash, a big clash that we were involved in one time. And somebody played a fake song, and the person won the clash.
Yeah, I can recall something like that.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
And some people was annoyed, and they expected the selector or us as a crew to defend it. But it's a sport, so you move on.
And you are in the business now, I mentioned in the beginning, 54 years now. You're now relocating, so this whole dubplate thing will continue. You still playing also. How was the pandemic like for you all of a sudden when you weren't able to play for the people anymore?
Well, during the pandemic, it was really hard. But this is something we didn't have any control over. And you have to find a way to live with the things you can't do nothing about until you can do something. And in our case, we just had to protect ourselves and wait until the pandemic move on. And thank God, well, it's not totally gone yet, but things improve a whole lot. And the gate is open now, and dance is up and running again.
And also, Jaro, your son is now on board of the sound system and is carrying on the works. So, what are the plans for Jaro?
Well, all right. It's a pity that David wasn't here because he would be the right person to answer that. But 2019, David had the Kilimanjaro 50th anniversary. And although I was grooming David from birth, and the time came when I handed over the sound to him. And there was a lot of plans, but soon after that was 2020, and COVID visited and slowed down things. But David have a whole lot of plans. He mentioned some of them to me, and I support him, and I will be behind him as long as I can.
Tell me a bit about the relationship of you and the sound system. Because, 54 years, that's like a child, right? What role does the sound play in your life?
The sound is like a part of me. And as I tell them, I believe maybe one day they might find me dead in a dance hall, because I'd like to be with the sound until the last day. And it's like it gives me breath. It's the breath that I breathe. I can't do without it. And it's like the blood that runs in my vein. It's weird to be talking like this, and most people might not understand. But sound system is actually a part of me.
And what aspect is the one you enjoy the most? Is it the dance actually entertaining the people? Is it the technical aspect of making the perfect acoustic sound, or what is it that you love the most?
Well, I can't tell you what I love the most. I love everything, because one, I try to get the sounding the best I can get it to sound, and I continuously I like technology, and I continuously try to update myself with technology, find out how to improve things, find out how to make things better. And at the same time, it's a joy to listen to the sound system playing. And it's another joy to watch people enjoying the sound system that I put together. So it's everything.
So what music do you enjoy the most playing and also listening to at the same time on your sound system, or maybe also dub plates? Some people might say Johnny Osbourne, Reason, and dub plates playing in the ghetto, those are the Jaro anthems. Do you have specific dub plates or a song that you say, or those are the dearest to my personal heart?
Well, when it comes on to dub plates, you see, I like them all, and it would be unfair to start calling names, because every artist, I'm not going to tell you every single song that a particular artist did for Kilimanjaro was my favorite, but every artist, because dub plate is something special, and there must be a reason why you go to an artist and want him to do this song for you, because that song means something to you and you like that song. So it's a whole lot. And almost every artist that we ever voice, there are songs that is very, very dear to me. When those play in the dance hall, it's like I get goose pimples.
But did you actually record all the dub plates of Jaro yourself?
No, I didn't. In the early days, I did most, if not all, by myself. But, there's nothing you can do all by yourself. And when things reach a certain size, you need help. And thank God I got some good help. Some great people work on this sound over the years, and without them, I wouldn't be here talking to you now, because I couldn't have done everything myself. And then the last big help I get is my son, because we can go to the dance now, and if I feel like tired, I don't have to do nothing, and David know exactly what to do. And very proud I am.
Yeah, man, you can be, rightfully. Yes. But speaking of that, so whoever comes on board of Kilimanjaro, what does it take? Because a lot of people, I figure, wanted to play on the sound and did not get to do it. What are the criteria where you say, all right, come and play on the sound? Because, I mean, this is obviously such a precious thing to you personally. Yes. You trusted it to somebody else. What does it take for them to be part of Jaro?
All right. What I usually do, I like to give people a chance. And if somebody is expressing some interest in the sound system and they can show enough interest, I give them a chance. And I started to watch how they work. And one of the greatest qualifications you need to become a part of Jaro, you have to love music seriously. And if you love money first, you're going to neglect the sound because money on your mind. But if you love music, you will excel with music so much that the music will make money for you. And if somebody is not showing the amount of love for music itself, I don't want to be in their company at all. Because if you really love the music, I won't have to worry about you and the sound, You will do your job.
So how you love music, you mentioned you're still going at a dance, you're still playing at a dance. You enjoy those evenings. What you enjoy the most of it?
As I say, I enjoy everything, but when the sound set up and start to play, and some of the time we might play some instrumental songs without any voices and listen to the instruments coming through the sound system. It's a good feeling.
And you will have that feeling more often now. Thank God now we can keep dance again. Jaro is still the boat and playing, right?
Yes, now that the COVID is on its way out, it's a big joy for me because we get more opportunities to play the sound system.
So Jaro is still the boat, and the 54 years is just the beginning. So you'll continue the works, David will continue the works, and the rest of the crew will continue the works. I'm glad to hear that this space will relocate so on to the next 50-something years, right?
Yes, well, I completed my 50 years, and David started his 50. Yeah.
For David, and also, of course, for you still, I wish you all the very best for the sound system, for your personal life. Really appreciate this conversation we had. It's always a joy to talk to you, Mr. Harper. Enough love and respect, and thank you so much for this history lesson today.
Thank you very much, Munchy, and it was nice meeting with you again for this interview.